Hey everybody, this is Charles Barefoot,
This is Josh McMahon.
and we're back again with Luke Hill, and welcome back to Feed Me Your Construction Content, Luke.
Thank you all for having me. It's always fun.
Glad, absolutely. Well, where we kind of had to cut off last time, we'd love to build on this more. We really have been discussing kind of the continuous learning mentality of a lot of folks in the military. We just wanted to talk about a lot about what and why veterans are so welcome in the construction industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a ton of reasons. I know we've talked about a few of them before, just kind of at a 10,000 foot overview, I guess. But yeah, we can dive deep.
Yeah, let's do the deep dive. Me personally, from my standpoint, I always like talking about the continuous learning because that's kind of a passion of mine. I think, especially in the construction industry today, and even back in the day, right? The way that the people came up in the construction industry, right, from a laborer up to a superintendent, you were learning something new all the way along your path to get to those upper levels of construction, right? So there's this constant level of this continuous learning path that you were always on. People may not realize it and didn't really think about it, but that's exactly what it was. What the military does is it actually inspires or intends to inspire its members to be learners, lifelong learners, right? We don't stop once you get out of your first professional school, right? When you're in boot camp, you're learning a whole bunch of stuff. You come out of boot camp, now you're in your specialty courses, your MOS, your job specifications courses, right? Now you're in that. Now you get out. You're a young Marine, you're a young soldier, airman, seaman, and what you've got is somebody that's just hungry to learn more. And now you start going through all these other courses, right? Professional development courses, NCO's course. So non-commissioned officers, staff non-commissioned officers. You could have lieutenants going to officer candidate school through the basic school in Marine Corps, or service warfare officer schools in the Navy, and on and on. It just keeps on going. It never stops. Similar to this diatribe, but but in reality, we don't want to stop learning ever. And I'll say, as far as I go, I got off of active duty in 2014. I have earned my master's in business administration, so my MBA. Once I wrapped that up, about a year and a half later, I decided I want to go back and start my master's in construction management. I'm about to wrap that up, and I'm already looking for the next thing for me to do. Probably much to the chagrin of my wife, and I'm sorry, but that's kind of it, right? Like I'm hungry for more constantly, and I don't know how you guys can attest, but I think that definitely translates into the construction industry. There's just so much knowledge to learn there. You could spend a life and never know everything.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. One of the things that you were talking about that I share a lot with people is that advancement and the growth, and the continuous learning with it. Especially coming from the skilled trade apprenticeship field where I was in before, one of the things I would always share with the veterans I was talking to is that advancement through the industry, especially as a tradesman, is pretty similar to how it worked especially the E1 to E5 promotion system. But how the promotion works in the military, it's you have to accomplish X, Y, and Z. You have to be proficient in A, B, C, and you have to achieve targets of 1, 2, and 3, and that'll get you to that next step. And then the one beyond that, you'll know as well. It's with the construction industry, you've almost got the same kind of setup as what the MOS roadmap looks like. And I know, Josh, from conversations we've had, that you can look at targets and break down, if this is my ultimate goal, I know everything I have to do to get there along the way. And I feel like just as veterans, we're already accustomed to that. It's things that we like. It's things that we're good about. And, the other one that I've told people, I think it worked for me in recruiting, and I've seen it work for others in construction and lots of other fields as well. I always try to apply it, but it's one of the Marine Corps leadership principles: know yourself and seek self-improvement. And that's probably the one that I think back on most. It's just, if I know I'm lacking, I'm going to spend the extra time to make up for it, or to learn it, or to figure out why I'm lacking and find somebody who can help me.
I actually probably say that to several people a week, right? Know yourself and seek self-improvement. And it is something to live by, honestly. That's really powerful stuff. Josh, I don't know. I mean, you're working on school right now, right?
Yeah. So I've got 4 more classes to get my master's in construction management. I have told my wife and myself that I will not be going for any more advanced degrees. Although I am looking for what's next because I can't help myself. But I've only connected with one individual that's a doctorate in construction management, and I'm not sure that that's a necessary box to check.
Right.
But I will probably take a look at it just to say that I did.
So Luke, off of know yourself, know yourself and seek self-improvement, our continuous learning. What else do you have to say to veterans out there that want to join or that are looking at construction? What makes it appealing to them?
Yeah, I mean, for one, it's a very dynamic field. I mean, as both of you know, you're always moving, you're always somewhere. You're not stagnant. You're not just sitting there. Um, there's always something to do. It's a production-driven world, and that's never boring, I would say. Um, one of the things I've heard a lot is I don't want to swing hammers. I know I shared that with y'all, and all had a good laugh about it, but there is so much more than swinging hammers in the construction industry. And not that that's not an important part of it. It's nobody's job would get done if the framers and the roofers and the wow, train of thought just stopped. But without the tradesmen, nothing would get done.
Yeah.
And it's important, but there's also the guys that are like y'all out there doing the actual the management process of it. There's the back office, there's sales, there's just so much to it. And I can honestly say, before I got involved with the industry, I had no idea that there were so many different functions of it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I had no idea you could make the kind of money you can in construction before I started getting really kind of heavily involved in it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd say that that I didn't even know, when I was first looking at the construction industry, I had no idea how big it was and how many people it required to make construction work, right? You don't hear about the folks in the back office. You don't hear about the CPAs employed by these these construction companies, or the schedulers, or even procurement, right? I mean, let's be honest, supply chain and logistics management is massive. So you don't hear about these folks because they're all not the folks that you see sitting on, that are public facing, right? They're not sitting in a crane or sitting in an excavator or yelling at folks from the ground, or from the door of a trailer, right? You don't see those kind of things. And so there's room for everybody in this industry. And veterans especially, I think, we should gravitate towards this place because there's, Luke, you were alluding to it earlier. There's so much room for individual growth in this industry, right? That because there's so many different jobs out there, you can find your place in this industry. It just may take a while, right? You may end up starting as the guy that's swinging a hammer, but you could end up being the guy that's, directing where your supply lines go, right? Directing the ordering, the procurement. You could end up being a VP of a division or a company.
Director of construction, like
right.
that.
Yeah. So it's just fascinating, man. What you got, Josh?
I'll tell you, man, just to piggyback. So when I came out of the military, I did HVAC and plumbing. That was my trade of choice. And all I wanted to do was do HVAC when I got out of the service. So I went back into being a sheet metal mechanic on the job in the crawl space in the attics, banging duct together and supplying heating and air to your living spaces, right? And you fast forward 15 years from that day where I started essentially at the lower level, and now I'm running a construction team. There's so much out, and I think there are still so many. Even my grandfather is just 5 years ago thought that there was no money to be made in this industry. We were beneath white collar employees. It's just wrong. The perception is off. There's so much potential in this industry. There's so many white collar jobs that, maybe you do start at the beginning or the bottom, but if you constantly learn and you apply yourself and you put in the effort, the sky's the limit. You can be a CEO one day. You can be a COO one day. You can be whatever you want to be. And I think the time we're living in today, with the way the market is and the way the construction industry is, if you're hungry, you show a little bit of humility and you're smart, you can do whatever you want in this business. And that's why, for me, the construction industry has never been more exciting than it is today.
Yeah, and I've just, again, like I said, I've seen it change lives. I've seen people come out of the military, go into construction, and they were in a pretty rough spot when they came out and ended up living more than comfortably. There's a ton of that, and then there's just, I've never seen someone say I've lost my passion for construction like I've seen people say that about just about every other field out there. I don't know what it is about it, but there's something that just when you talk to someone who's in that industry, there's so many people that are just so passionate about it that it's, hey, this is all I'm ever going to do. And whether they are, the carpenter who just absolutely loves his craft, or, you're talking to your purchasing people, your sales people, your warranty people, even, it's just that passion, it runs so deep. And it's really great, and I think it creates a good camaraderie, good sense of belonging. And, again, as veterans, that's something that I think a lot of us miss when we get out, is that, going from living in the barracks where you can just go beat on someone's door when you're bored, to, back home, either with your parents or, in your apartment on your own or whatever. And you don't really, that's what I always talk to people about, is just when you're in the military, you're living and working in close proximity with everyone and whether that's, your single friends in the barracks or somebody living in base housing with their wife or their husband and their kids and all of it, you're always around the same people, and it's very much that close-knit atmosphere. And I feel like construction has a good way of emulating it. Yeah, I definitely think both of you do a lot of what I think the industry as a whole needs to get better at, and that's putting, things like this out there so people can get a real look at the opportunity. And it's not just towards veterans that needs to be done. There's a big problem with construction in the education system. That is something that can be talked about at a later time, but I could go on for hours about. But as an industry, I think people just need to be able to represent what they do and what the opportunity that it has is. We need people to be champions.
Absolutely. I think
love that.
That's I really do. I think here. That was our goal starting this, was to really start driving, or hopefully start pulling people towards the industry and start attracting people to the industry, but more so to expose people to what construction is. And with your help and hopefully many other guests to follow, that's exactly what we're going to be doing.
And that's one of my goals. Initially it's kind of at this start of my veteran silo that I'm running. Our start is just, we're going to identify veterans in the industry. We're going to look at people who, whether they want to bring other veterans in on, bring them on, with them in the industry, or they want to, they want to make a move for whatever reason. But representing and connecting with top veteran talent on both sides of the table, and then with companies that don't have that infrastructure in place, I'm more than happy to talk to them about the things that veterans have to offer. I'm happy to help them if they don't have a veterans resource group, get something set up, connect them with the right people, and whether that's they want to go out there themselves and get onto bases at TAPS and talk to service members who are getting out about the opportunities their companies have to offer, or they'd like for someone to reach out on their behalf. That's what I do. And I'm passionate about it. That's again, like I said, I love what I do. And if I can help a veteran while I'm doing it, then all the better. Other things we're talking about at a higher level that we're still figuring out exactly how it's going to work is we've talked about having kind of like a veterans roundtable of professionals in the industry that going to talk about not just things related to veterans, but that perspective on construction matters. And that's something we're talking about. We're going to put something together for Houston area veterans here pretty soon and host an event, we think. But again, got some more legwork on it. But there's I think the industry just needs to represent itself well, and that'll see massive results. I think Charles's headline on LinkedIn says it best: the construction industry is ready for a change.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, thanks for that. I appreciate that. So somebody has noticed. Oh man. But yeah, Luke, I gotta tell you, man, I think what you're trying to do with this veteran silo is brilliant. I think that there's so much room for that to grow, especially in your area, right? And for that matter, I mean, by your area, I mean your geographic location, but for that matter, anywhere else in this country right now. There's just so many metropolitan areas that are just screaming for the help. And they're veterans to fill the roles. We just need to attract them. So honestly, Luke, thanks so much for your time, man. I want to have you on here again, especially as your silo gets up and running, and as you get things a little more ironed out. I'd love for us to try and help get the message out some more. But thanks so much for discussing, the recruiting of the construction management field and the benefits that the military veterans can bring to it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was really great for you to come on, Luke, and let us do this experiment with you and try and figure out how to do this podcasting thing. And maybe when we figure it out, we'll have to have you back on so we can, do you a little.
We can class it. We got to class it up some more. We got.
Yeah, we'll class. Well, once we got some music in there and some intro, and then we'll get you back around again, Luke. But no, on a serious note, man, I mean, I think a lot of you, I think you're really important to our industry, the veterans, and this was hopefully a small gesture of my appreciation of you and Charles' appreciation and just what you're doing for our fellow brethren, veterans, in the construction industry. So do want to do this again with you, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to take the time when I can.
Awesome, Luke. Thanks so much, man.
Yep, absolutely.